Every week, guys, I try and pick a truck that's got something unique, different, or otherwise just special about it. And this week's truck is no different. Actually, it's not what you think it is. We'll get into that. Roll the intro. Hey everyone, it's Josh at the Hisson Group. I want to thank you for tuning back in this week. This may look like a plain white 2021 T880 Day Cab. It is, in a way, but we've taken that Swiss Army knife spec that I've talked about before. We've made some tweaks to make it yet even more versatile. We've added some other stuff to get costs down and productivity up, which are two things that most people really like to hear. So without further ado, without me yammering on like an idiot like I normally do, B-roll, then the truck. Let's get to it. So two things with this, guys. First off, it was raining like mad earlier. I tried to film unsuccessfully and I came out now and look at those clouds just floating past. Yeah, I know. Not why you're here. Nonetheless, this truck does have a tow pin out front because it is set up for vocational use. That's the way we've got this truck geared up. Now, will it do other things? Yes. And that's why I've kind of called this the Swiss Army truck. With this, we also have Kenworth's durable bumper up here. The edge is cut so that way you don't catch it on anything if you're in a funky situation, perhaps one where you may need said tow pin. Extra space here for air to get in for your air charge coolers, things of that nature. And the cool thing about it is there's even a wire mesh here. I know a lot of companies will cheap out and not do something like this. This is an expanded metal back here. And I mean, I'm pushing on it. If I can push on it like that, you know it's engineered for rocks, birds, other things of that nature. It's not getting to your radiator. Same thing here. I mean, they give a little, but I'm pushing on this. It's not gonna dent. It's not gonna let something get to your expensive coolers, and that's what we're looking for with this. Once again, solid up front here. All the stuff that you really want in a truck that's meant to last for a long, long time. Now, with this being just the standard T880, we've got a curve here instead of it being flat. Same thing with the bumper. It's actually angled back because we've got room with the tire being set further back, with it being a set back axle. Now, what that does is that gives you that extra little bit of space when you're in a tight area. And what's funny is this angle right here, you don't think it adds that much. There's a lot of times in this tight parking lot here where that makes a difference between getting out of a parking spot and me having to shamefully buy a bumper. Right above that, we have the headlights. Once again, tough stuff. This is made to last a lifetime. Probably more ours because this thing will probably outlast some of us. We've got the turn signal up top. We've got the headlight on the bottom, which is the opposite of the T880S. Now, there's a couple of reasons why they do that. A, the lower the headlight, the better. You can obviously keep the light low, pointed down the road a little bit better. But B, we've got the room to do that because of the setback front axle. So let's take a look at a few more of the other things on this. Now, this is the Meton hood. Now, I know you guys have heard me talk. It's multiple pieces. I mean, you can replace a fender if you need to. You have a blowout, takes out a fender. you get a fender. You don't necessarily have to buy a whole hood. Once again, people talk about cheap plastic stuff, and this is not that. I mean, I can hang on this thing. It flexes a little bit so it can absorb impacts, but this thing isn't going to break. It's just durable. On top of that, that added little bit of flexibility makes it so it's going to last, once again, those couple of million miles that we're talking about. I know you guys are curious as to what's under the hood, so let's talk about that next. So when we flip open the hood here, what do we see? A giant hunk of gray iron. This is the PACCAR MX-13 engine. Now, there's a lot of reasons why I think it's a great choice in a truck like this. First off, it's a little less expensive. Second off, this motor's got a great reliability record, and you go a little bit longer in between oil changes and things of that nature. Now, twofold, it's more time on the road, less time in the shop, and B, that's less cost when you go to replace items like that, like filters, oil, things of that nature. Something else, this engine's a little bit lighter. It's about 350 pounds lighter than the other options that we've got here. To me, if I can save added weight, that's less wear and tear on other items. It's more weight that I can carry, better fuel mileage over the long run. And fuel mileage is one of those things where it's not huge increases. A little bit added up over 1 million miles equals a lot that goes into your pocket. One other thing with this engine, this one's 455 horsepower and 1,650 foot-pounds of torque. Now that torque is at 950 RPM, so just off idle. I mean, you touch the throttle in this truck, you've got full torque. That to me is one of the most beautiful things with this engine. It's just got that instant torque. Now, the problem that we sometimes run into with this engine is guys want to spin it, and you can spin it. It's 455 horsepower. Why not spin it? It doesn't really do much on the top end, but make more noise. You're not getting really any more power because it's got all of its power early. So that's something that's tough to get the mindset passed on. And it's interesting. I've noticed this in later years in terms of trucks, cars, everything. They're able to tune the turbos for that low-end torque so that way you've got that instant power where you're driving 90% of the time instead of that top-end pull like what you're thinking of. That, to me, it equates to fuel mileage, it equates to better drivability, and it equates to better longevity. What else could you really ask for in that? Now, hooked up to the back of this is the UltraShift 10-speed. This is another thing. If you think this engine needs to buzz and it's not buzzing, guys get frustrated with the transmission because of that. Let it do its thing. Learn what it's doing because it is programmed to work with the numbers that this engine puts out. You may feel like it needs to do something different. It doesn't. The computer's not wrong. You need to learn to trust it and you need to learn to work with it. As I've said 100 times before, working with an UltraShift transmission is just like being married. If you work together and you learn how to work together, it's a great thing. If you try and work against each other and try and make it do things that it doesn't want to do, you both end up living long, miserable lives. Makes sense, doesn't it? The other thing, I always put this in the comments and I'm going to say this out loud for sure. Good drivers learn how to adapt to the equipment that they have. This is something that once you learn how to adapt to it, you really don't want to go back. So where the rubber meets the road, literally, we've got Yokohama tires, and these are 11R 22.5s. Yeah, I just had to look at it. I do know that they are Alcoa Durabrite wheels. Once again, mild soap and water, cleans them right up, and they're going to stay good looking for a long time. Low maintenance, not much added cost with that too. Plus, you get the added benefit of a lighter weight aluminum wheel. Speaking of lighter weight, disc brakes, we've got a 13.2 front axle on this. Once again, all the stuff that you need, none of the stuff that you really don't, just a truck set up to go to work for you. Over on this side, we've got the polished toolbox because that's going to cover up your emissions equipment. Why not polish that up? The last piece of emissions equipment is obviously the exhaust stack. This one, we've got a single one on it. I like the look of the duals, but especially in an application like this, the fact that the dual exhaust the second exhaust isn't functional, It adds a lot of weight. It adds a fair bit of cost. I just don't see the point, especially in a truck like this. This is the moneymaker. Let's make sure it's able to do that. Now, we've done a very similar spec to this over the past couple of years and have had really, really good luck with it. But we've changed a few things here. So like in this one, we've got the 75-gallon tank. In a lot of cases, we would split fuel tanks and diesel tanks over here. We're able to put all the diesel on that side. We've got all the hydraulic oil on this side. This tank actually is polished up really nice. This, 75 gallons. The other nice thing that we've got in this is we've got a handle here because we've got deck plate access over here. Once again, being a vocationally geared truck typically, we want to make sure that you've got access to the deck from either side. Why do you want to walk all the way around the truck or all the way around the trailer? Because we know a lot of you guys may be tying stuff down on this side, that side, wherever. Steps are right here for you, ready to go. On this side of things, I am going to change it up a little bit. We're going to go back to front. Got our batteries hanging off the side here. Once again, helps get them out of the cab, gives you a better option for that passenger seat over there. We've got our DEF tank over here. We've got the 11 gallons in there. This is a 120 gallon capacity fuel tank. Notice we're able to put this all on this side. Got everything arranged nicely. We're not having to have you fill 2 fuel tanks, nothing like that anymore. Once again, just those little adaptations, those little evolutions over the years really help with the final product. So when we get to the back end of the truck here, we've got Bridgestone 11R 22.5 tires on here. We've got Alcoa Durabrite wheels. Inside of that, we've got drum brakes. We've got a 40,000 pound rear end, and it's got 370 rear end gears in it. Once again, it's that really good ratio for getting in and out of places, good grunt, but it's not gonna kill you on the highway either because we've got 120 gallons of fuel in there. The less you have to stop to fill that up, the better. I think everyone agrees on that. Holding everything up, we've got the AG400 suspension. Now, this is the one that I always like to talk about with you guys for especially applications that could go vocational. This 8-bag system is the way to do it. It makes sure that the axle travels straight up and down instead of in an arc the way most other suspension systems do. That allows you to keep much better traction, and it gives you much better driveline angles, which helps you save wear and tear on the driveline. There are so many benefits to running the suspension, it just makes sense. You may have noticed that this fifth wheel is laying flat. You would be correct. Also noticed it's not greased yet. In this is set up as a convertible fifth wheel. You move these pins out of the way, there's 2 more jack stands in the back here, and suddenly you've got something that can tow any trailer you want to. Flip those all up the way they are right now, and you can use it for a frameless dump trailer. It's this type of versatility is why I say that this truck is that Swiss Army knife truck. It's got a tool to do everything. When you look at the engine, the transmission, the fifth wheel, the suspension, it's set up to do anything and to go pretty much anywhere, which, isn't that what we all want in a truck? You guys know that this is one of my favorite parts, the interior. But first, it's warm in here, so let's get the windows down. In all this truck is laid out simple and smart. Non-leather wrapped smart wheel. Once again, just simple there. In terms of gauges, we've got a few extras here. We've got transmission temperature, suspension load, boost, and oil temperature. Once again, you shouldn't really need to know a whole heck of a lot more than that. We've got all your switches down here. We can shut off the ABS, you can shut off the traction control, you can shut off the hill hold. These are all things that are meant to help you in tough situations, but in those very rare situations, they could be a little bit of a pain, so you can shut them off. We've also got additional spare switches in here, so that way you can just wire in through the truck, get them turned on in the computer, and you've got the switches already in the dashboard. Whether you want beacon lights, whether it's something for the trailer, you've got all this stuff right here. We've got a suspension dump here. We've got your PTO switch. The fifth wheel does use an air slide, so it's got the pins for that. And we've got the 3-way lockers here also because, once again, vocational truck. This does have the black cloth seat here. The other thing that I've always liked is it's got the map pocket. Well, I don't know if you want to call it a map pocket. It's a giant map if it's a map pocket. It's got a clipboard holder and stuff back here. So that way, I mean, you've got plenty of room to put stuff. Really, I mean, the storage options up here, up above there, more in the dash. There's 2 cup holders, map pockets. There's plenty of within reach storage. You guys know I'm a big fan of this interior. I don't really need to say too much more about that. Just well thought out, well designed. You don't even need to move to shift. This truck is probably never going to end up on the cover of a big rig magazine. It's not going to be one of the show trucks. It's not designed for that. What it is designed for is to make you money. So maybe it puts your picture on the front of Forbes or something of that nature. To me, there's a lot of great specs in this that are going to help you guys make a lot of money with this truck. And that's really what it's all about. And frankly, I still think it looks pretty good too. In all this, do me a favor, make sure you're subscribed, hit the notifications bell. That really does help us out and make sure that you guys know when we pop out a new video. Thumbs up if you like this. If you didn't like it, go ahead and hit the thumbs down twice. As always, stay safe out there. Keep it rubber side down, and I will catch you on the flip side. I think I'm going to get rained on again. We could both use a bath.